Welcome to another version of TAC Phone Ops. Today we're going to talk about the telephone set D Mark V, which is a British telephone set used during World War II. To talk about this and fully understand how this works, we're going to go back a little bit to World War I, where the British developed what's called the Fuller phone. It was developed by Captain Fuller. And the problem that they were having was there was a lot of eavesdropping going on with field phone calls from the Germans. And at the time, the field phones they used were single-wire field phones, where you had a wire that came out of the phone and went to a stake in the ground, and then you had a single wire that ran to the other phone. Well, what happened was all these ground currents were interceptable through what was called induction, and the Germans were knowing what the British plans were. And it actually was really horrible several times because the Germans knew about some of the major offenses that the British were doing, and they knew the timing, exactly what was going to happen. So the British would launch the attack. The Germans would all be down in their bunkers, ride the artillery barrage out. As soon as the artillery was done, they'd get their machine guns up and they'd just mow the British down by the thousands. And this was becoming a problem. The British first thought, well, we have spies, and then had some civilian technicians come over and say, no, it's because of these induction currents. Well, the first thing the British realized, well, you could get rid of the induction currents if you use two-wire twisted pair phone cable or wire. Well, the first thing they decided on now is we've got thousands of miles of wire out. We can't replace all that. Is there anything we can do with existing in-place infrastructure we have? That's where Captain Fuller came in. Captain Fuller came back with two prototype systems, and basically what they were teletype or telegraph systems. And they worked really well. They worked on poor lines, they worked on noisy lines, and they're also such a low level that the Germans could detect what was going on. And actually, during World War II, they did some testing with Fuller phones, and they determined, not really a phone, with Fuller sets, they determined they could actually go 700 miles on an underwater submarine cable using Fuller sets. The other thing about the Fuller sets was you could run a Fuller set on the same set of wires you were running a telephone call on at the same time, and neither one would interfere with each other. So this was a big deal. So between the period after the war, the British really jumped on this, developed it, got Fuller sets made smaller, more sensitive, more reliable, and away they went. Well, then, about the time World War II was getting ready to kick off, the British came up with the telephone set D Mark V, which I have right here. And this is interesting because what this did was it sort of melded the capabilities of a field telephone with a Fuller set. So we'll go ahead and open this up here. It's just basically an aluminum case with carrying straps on it. We'll open it up. And you can see, and this is it right here, pretty simple system. Basically has a handset right here. Pull it out, off cable, along with a handset cradle. Pull it out. Handset plug, and it just plugs right in here. You can feel the on it. Handset rode like this. These are your binding posts right here. Could work on either twisted pair field wire or a single wire system, with this being on the ground. This was a magneto bell. What this allowed you to do was receive incoming phone calls from a magneto phone, the hand crank. This was the battery pack right here. It actually operated on two 1.5 volt. The batteries are largest. Battery pack is the whole depth of this right here. I ended up installing a quick fix using two detail battery holders. This was the Morse key. We'll talk about that a little bit later. This was probably the heart of the system. This is the buzzer unit that makes the buzzing sound when the teletype signals are set. And these knobs on here allow you to tune the signal so it sounds good. So it's one of those things that as the shift or time wore on, you're constantly having to mess with these and adjust them to get a good, clear buzzer tone sound when you had teletype signals going on. Handset, like I said, right here. It's got push to talk on it. Fits right in there like that. I talked about the buzzer. What's interesting about the buzzer is the whole unit can be removed. Get the phone out of the way. Like this. And this is pretty much what it looked like. Contacts on the bottom, buzzer piece on top. And it just slid right inside here like this. On the inside of the cover you had schematics of how the phone operated, and you had the actual operating instructions to adjust the buzzer, test it, and all that good stuff. It also came with a little arm right here that folded out like this. I'll get this set up here. And this is the actual deployed. If you took to the field, this is how you would have it set up. This little piece inside here like this. The little arm keeps the lid from flopping around. Okay, there we go. Can't take it back. And that's how you'd have it deployed if you're using it in the field. This one is actually a 1940 model. As they came out, they were used by all the British Commonwealth forces, which is the British, Canadians, Australians, and New Zealanders. This phone, like I said, could perform voice or Morse code operations, and this is it right here. It could receive magneto-phone calls, but it couldn't make them, which was interesting. So you could call from one Mark V telephone to another Mark V telephone or to a British switchboard by using the buzzer on it. I'll demonstrate that here in a second. Incoming calls you could take from, let's say, British literature actually mentioned using EE8 crank phones like the U.S. used to make calls to it. The actual range on this with the correct correct cable is 8 to about 16 miles on the voice side, and then Morse code 15 to 25 miles depending on the cable used. Once again, like I said, this is not a Fuller phone. It was developed sort of from the Fuller phone. The Fuller phone was a lot more compact, didn't have a telephone handset, and was a lot more sensitive, had a lot better range. So we'll go ahead and explain the operations a little bit more here. We'll shut down, and I'll actually hook an EE8 up to it, and we'll make some phone calls. Okay, I have an EE8 hooked up. British literature mentioned using EE8s connected to these telephones, the binding posts here. The first thing we'll do is I'll make a phone call from the EE8 to the Mark V. Not really loud, but definitely usable if you had to do it. And then as far as the audio quality is, let me do a quick check here. Test 1, 2. Test 1, 2. Audio is a little weak on the receive end on the earpiece on this, but I'm wondering if I maybe have a bad earpiece or I need to clean some contacts up. Now, the other problem that you ran into is how do you call the EE8? There's no hand crank on this. So what you would do is you would... Now, inside the handset here, you can hear a little bit. It's not too bad. It's okay, not really loud. But on the receiving handset, it's really loud. So you could use the Morse code key to signal the phone on the other end if somebody's calling. Now, you would have to have somebody listening to an EE8 or they wouldn't hear it. The British actually had portable field switchboards that would receive this signal and light a little light on that line, similar to our SB-22s, the old BD series during World War II. Let's talk about the teletype key here a little bit. I apologize to any purists. When I bought this phone, it was missing the actual teletype key that came with it. So what I ended up doing is I found this is a actual Russian-made one from, I'd probably say the 60s or the 70s, that was small and it would fit in here. Not the best. So I do have something I can use. So you can send teletype signals back and forth, but I am on the hunt for the correct one. So this is pretty much it. Like I said, the British use these. British Commonwealth forces use these. World War II into Korea, they used them. It's not a Fuller phone. I want to stress that. It was sort of based on the premise of this Fuller phone, having the Morse code key, but a Fuller phone did not have the telephone capability. So this basically worked both ways. Very highly used by the British Artillery Corps for calling for their artillery shooting, also for anti-aircraft defense in Britain itself. They had thousands of these deployed to all their observation posts and fighter airfields and everything to keep contact with everybody. And like I said, this one I got was made in Canada. It was actually made in 1940, so this unit is 80 years old. In incredible shape. I apologize for not having the correct teletype key. maybe sometime in the future, but maybe I'll learn Morse code someday. Anyway, this is the British telephone set D Mark V. Thanks for watching.